Hi everyone, it's Alexis. I hope you are all doing well today. I get to show a beautiful sneak peek today. I am really excited actually. I know I say that all the time, but I'm actually genuinely excited because coming up very quickly is the release of Chapter 3. If you are familiar, you know Chapter 1 and Chapter 3 tend to be our biggest releases throughout the year. We have got a huge selection of product to go through. Well, I don't know if I'm going to go through everything because it is a sneak peek. So I'll give you a sneak peek at some stuff, but I can't go through the whole chapter. I think someone else might be doing that soon. So I'm definitely going to show you more than one. I'll show you probably about 10 new dies and embossing folders and things that we have coming out. But I just wanted to give you a little between you and I kind of thing. Like, I guess a lot of people are going to see this though, so it isn't just between you and I, but you know what I mean. But I'm going to be making a project with this die set right here called Floral Abundance, because when we release Chapter 3, because of where it falls in the year, it kind of goes summer, fall, and even into winter a little bit with the stuff. So we have a wide range of dies and things to support making for the summer months, the early fall, and even into Christmas. So that means we have a lot of different SKUs for you to choose from, and I want to start off by giving you inspiration for summer. So I'm going to be making a couple of different cards today with just 2 different dies and 1 embossing folder, and then I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to make that so that you can use it for all year round. Anytime I'm working with dies, versatility is at the top of my list of ways to find out things for you and how we can give you more longevity with your die sets, give you more versatility with them. And so I took it upon myself to make a couple of extra projects so that you can really see in person what it's like to be in the mind of a creator, creative person who wants to come up with as many different ways to use something as possible. So I've got 4 different cards I'm going to show you today with using the same kind of die sets all the way through, and then I've got some other projects I'm going to go through with different Chapter 3 items. So let me switch to an overhead camera so that we can get right into this. So as I was saying, Chapter 3 is got a wide variety of dies and embossing folders and stamps, and because it launches in July, we always want to make sure that we have something for those kind of evergreen projects that you're working on in July and August and sometimes even into September. But we also want to get you ready for the fall holidays, so we've got stuff to support Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, winter, anything you might be celebrating in those final months of the year. We have got you covered in Chapter 3. So I'm going to go through a few of my favorites today. I'm going to work with these 2 sets right here because I want to show you kind of an evergreen kind of project for your summer months. I'm still very much in the floral realm of the year, so I wanted to show you how Chapter 3 can still work for you for the next few months, and how this die set in particular can work for you year round. So what I want to show you first is this die set. This is called Floral Abundance, and as you can see, you get a wide variety of foliage elements from different types of leaves. Some of them have deboss kind of features on them. Then you've got some that will layer. Lots of different, this one is like a berry bush tree, and you've got a few different ones in there that you can work with. But what I love about this set is that you have very different types of leaves. So it supports it for year round. So you've got some holly leaves right here. This leaf shape is a little bit more autumnal, and then you've got ones that are more everyday, which means that this has a lot of versatility to it. You can just change out and customize the colors to work for year round. So all 4 seasons, you can use this die set, just change out the colors that you're using with it. And I actually have some samples I'll show you that I used with this die set where I've done a funky Christmas card, I did a Thanksgiving kind of card, or fall card I should say, and then the one I'm going to be doing today is more of like a spring summer inspired card. Another die I want to point out, so this is a Thinlits die set, which I have right here so you can see all of the different dies that come on it. And it is a pretty big variety pack, and you definitely get all the layering elements with each of the dies. So it's worth the investment, I think, because you get year-round use out of it. The next die set is a Bigs die, and this one is called Banners and Labels. This is another great year-round die. I can show you, I'm going to bring in, so I've got these cut out in kind of punchy colors, but I wanted to show you what the Bigs die looks like. So a Bigs die is a steel rule die, meaning that inside this foam we have a really sturdy steel piece that cuts out these shapes. What that means for everyone watching is that our Bigs dies actually cut a wider variety of surfaces. So where our Thinlits dies mostly just cut through paper, sculpting foam, vellum, lighter weight cardstocks, not lighter weight, they can cut through pretty much any cardstock I've ever used with them, but they pattern paper, all of that, you kind of are a little bit limited in the scope of thicker surfaces. So if you want to cut something like felt, cardboard, chipboard, mat board, thin gauge metal, aluminum, this is your go-to kind of die, because these cut through over 20 different types of surfaces. Fabric, felt, I think I might have said felt already, but I've actually cut this out of mat board and cardstock, so I can show you today that it can cut through those thicker materials. But that's why I love working with Bigs. You get much more of a range that you can use the different types of projects, so you can go more home decor, you can do soft craft, you can still do party, paper crafting, card making, scrapbooking, which you're going to see I'm using this for cards today. But any of this stuff you really and truly can use with a variety of materials, which only expands your making opportunities with it. The final thing I'm going to work on with the project today is one of our new 3D embossing folders. So if you are familiar with our 3D technology, you know that we really mean business. So 3D embossing, this folder is called Shells. Kind of has a little bit of an Art Deco feel to it. I think this might be one of my favorites for the year. I know I say that about a lot of stuff, but I really and truly do have my favorites. There's probably about like 5 to 7 dies and folders we're releasing for the year that are probably in my top 5 to 7 for the year. And this is one of them. And I'm going to use this as a background on the cards I'm making today. And what I love about our 3D folders is you get so many different layers of dimension, and you can't beat that technology. What I do want to recommend, anytime you're working with our 3D folders, we always recommend that you wet the surface you're working with, especially if you're working with cardstock. You want there to be a little bit of give, you want to loosen the fibers, and that's what you want to do before you run it through the folder. So wet your paper a little bit with a spritzer, once on each side, twice on each side, depending on the size you're working with. Then run it through the folder, set it aside to dry, and you get a really beautiful impression. You can run it, we recommend running it through at least twice when you're working with 3D folders. You really want to get that crisp resolution there. But we say 3D 3 times just to be safe. These work beautifully with our texture rolls, which now come in 6-inch sizes as well, so be sure to check that out. The 6-inch texture rolls are sized perfectly to actually work with our 3D embossing folders, so you can actually just cut them down the width instead of having to do the width and the height with our 12-inch ones. 12-inch are still great for a lot of different things, especially scoreboard dies, but you definitely want to check out our texture rolls in the 6-inch size because they work perfectly with the 3D embossing folders. So now that I've gone through just a couple of the items I'm going to use, I want to show you what pieces I've already cut. So you saw I already showed you the banners and the labels, but now I want to show you what I did with, I'm going to bring in some stuff, with my Floral Abundance. So what I did is I cut out a variety of the flowers, the leaves. I did some of the flowers in our pattern paper cardstock, And I did them in coordinating colors with the cardstock that they come with. So I'm gonna bring this up a little bit closer. So I did this out of the sorbet cardstock, the pattern, and then used the pattern paper right here to kind of match. I used some of the lavender dust pattern paper right here, and then I used lavender dust cardstock. I've used mint julep and agave, and then I used banana blast cardstock and banana blast pattern paper. I cut out a bunch. I'm going to show 2 different cards today. But what you'll notice, if you look closely, I'll see if I can get this up close and that it will focus. There we go. Is there is kind of like a texture right there. What I did is I took my die cuts and I pushed them face down into a clear embossing powder, or not powder, but ink. And then I covered them completely in matching embossing powder. So if you're familiar with our color story, you know that our cardstock matches our glitters, matches our embossing powders. So if I have my lavender dust cardstock, my lavender dust pattern paper, and then I have my lavender dust embossing powder. So I put ink on a variety of different places, like the flower centers, some of the different layers of flowers. I put embossing ink on them, and then I put the powder over them and dried them with my heat tool just to give a little bit of texture to what I was doing. I love adding small little elements to a project just to give it a little extra flavor, and in this case, because our embossing powders have glitter in them, a little extra bling. So I'm gonna put these over to the side, and I'm gonna start to put together one of my cards. So I've cut a standard A2 card size, and I have already embossed one of my shells folders. But what I did with this one is I took some of our new gold luster wax, and our luster waxes work beautifully with 3D embossing. As you can see, they really bring out the design. They're really smooth and creamy. They're beeswax based, and they smell heavenly. They have a citrus flavor to them, or citrus smell, I guess. So they don't have that metallic ting that you always kind of smell when you work with other kind of luster and gilding waxes. So I love working with these because they smell good, but they also are very buildable, beautiful. Because they're so smooth and creamy, they go on really nice and clean. So I used the gold, and I just went over this and kept going over it till I got the layer that I wanted. So I'm going to glue my base on real quick. I'm just going to use some of my express glue. If you're working with 3D folders, I like to put them down usually with foam tape. I just find that it's easier to work with. You can use liquid adhesive. I just find you have to hold it down for a little bit longer so that the adhesive binds to your paper. So I'm just going to put that on. Now, while that's kind of setting in place, the luster waxes, people will ask how long do they take to dry. They will transfer probably up to about 24 hours. You'll if you rub something, it'll come off. I did this probably about an hour or 2 ago, and it's not coming off on my hands. It really depends on the type of surface that you're working with. Obviously, anything that's fibrous, it's gonna kind of blend down into it. If you're working on something like metal, it's probably gonna transfer a lot easier off onto whatever you touch it with. So definitely give it like 24 hours to really sit and dry if you're using it on anything other than cardstock, just because it will transfer for a bit of time until it's had time to saturate. But I love seeing it. You can use it for antiquing, all that kind of goodness on hinges, things like that. But I am just using it for my everyday cards today. So I'm going to put one of my labels on here. And this sentiment birthday wishes is from our chapter 2 stamp set called Everyday Sentiments, number 2. Get lots of really great sentiments in that one. Very everyday kind of things. Be happy, you're awesome, birthday wishes, you're marvelous, all that kind of stuff. So good stuff there all around. I'm going to lay out my florals. I'm going to do all my flowers kind of coming out, leaves coming out the top of my card. And I always like to layer things first and see how I like the arrangement, because sometimes I might want to build more of a solid background so that not so much of my pattern showing through in certain places. So I'll build these in real quick, kind of fill it in, and then I go through and I start adhering things down. So just gonna do that. And as you can see, I chose really bright colors because I wanted the ability for it to stand out against more of a neutral background. That was important to me that I did that. So I chose really bright kind of spring floral tones just so that I would not have to worry so much about them blending in. As you can see, I'm literally just playing with this. There's no pressure to this ever. I just enjoy building. I call it building my cards. I enjoy building cards. Just meant to be fun. So that's like a fun little floral layout. I think I'm happy with that. I'm gonna start gluing my pieces down. So what I will do is I'll kind of layer out a certain area and just pull up the big pieces. Now, one trick I like to do, I like to keep my cards somewhat dimensional. Not too dimensional that I can't mail them, but dimensional enough that they have a little bit of height to them. So I will only put glue in certain parts of the leaves. And that is simply so that the other pieces I can move and twist around and get them how I want them. So I'm just going to go through and I only add adhesive really and truly to like small portions, and then just move and shape all the other ones as I want as I go through. It's a nice way to give yourself some textural difference, so not everything's like super flat. I don't know what it is, like I feel like flowers always need to be dimensional. They need to feel realistic to me. So I enjoy that quite a bit, just giving them a little bit of shadow here and there. And then what's nice is when you put these down, then you can go back in with a pair of tweezers and pull and tuck things. You could always, and I didn't do this today, but I would normally put probably foam tape on the back of some of these smaller flowers just to give them a little bit of extra height off of the card. But sometimes I just want a card that I know will fit and go through the mail, and I wanted to do that with this one today. So you notice I'm not going to put all of them down initially because I want to fit my banner on there, and I want to tuck some over that banner piece. So I'm just going to make sure I'm not tucking everything underneath that. Okay, hold that one down for a minute. Does anyone else hold things in place while you're still gluing other things in place? I'm definitely a multi-step crafter. I like to work on a couple things at once. Just makes the process so much faster when you're putting things together. And then I just put a little glue on that one. Normally I'd probably put a little bit of foam tape under that, but I want to tuck this one underneath a little bit, so I didn't want to put foam tape so it would stop it from going in there. Okay, so there's card one using some of our newest items from chapter 3, Floral Abundance, labels and banners and labels, and shells as the folder. And then I've got one more card right here, and I want to show you real quick what this looks like if you just did it on white without having any kind of effect on top of it. You could also, I think this would be really fun, and I have done it on some folders. Didn't do today, sorry. I'll do it in another time. But you can dry brush our acrylic paints across the top of across the top of these embossed panels. And then once it's dry, you can rub a little bit of our luster waxes on top of that, and it creates such an amazing effect. Another great one is if you paint these panels before you emboss with our metallic acrylic paints and then emboss. Oh, Pete Hughes did that. It creates the most stunning background. Makes the metallic stand out like you wouldn't believe. So lots of different ways you can use your embossing folders. You can also ink the folders themselves and then do the embossing after that and create a two-tone effect. You can, I've got one I'm going to show you in just a minute that I actually put some embossing ink over the top of it and then did some embossing powder in gold and heat it, and it gave a really cool like enamel effect. So this one I'm going to do right in the center, and I'm going to group my flowers again. But you can see those bright, bold tones really allow you to make what you're doing stand out. I want to do this one at a diagonal. So I'm just going to kind of lay my pieces out real quick, and then I'll go back in and glue them. I'm going to pull them over this way just a little bit more, so it's more at a diagonal. There we go. Okay, so I'll pull this up and I'll just start gluing my greenery in. Now with these ones, they're a little bit longer. I'll do the bottom two and then a little bit of the spine on the flower, or the stem I should say, not the spine, if we're getting the right terminology on that. Just gonna quickly glue these ones down because I want to show you some other projects and inspiration from chapter 3. This is, after all, a sneak peek. So I'm going to show you a few other dies that I really enjoyed making projects with that are coming out in chapter 3. Some everyday stuff, as well as some Halloween and Christmas. I think Halloween is one of my favorite things to decorate for, but I think oftentimes people don't think to send cards, but this year, since we'll probably be able to kind of celebrate, there's always parties, like Halloween parties, so you can always do a card for the host of a Halloween party, or make cupcake toppers for something that you might be going to. Just really fun ways for kids to have fun. I used to be a nanny, and the little girl and I would do Halloween crafts every year, and some of the dies we came out with for chapter 3 really remind me of the types of crafts we used to do together. So there's a little bit of nostalgia with the shapes. So now I'm just gonna glue this into place. So again, I used the Everyday Sentiments number 2 for my stamp sentiment here, Be Happy. And then I've used the Sorbet Lavender Dust and Banana Blast Lavender Dust and Sorbet cardstocks, pattern papers, and embossing powders to make both of these cards. And then the card base on this one is actually Mermaid Kiss, which is like a really bright, fun summer, spring color, which I love. I live near the ocean, so this is actually one of my favorite colors. I love how the color is like a mixture of blues and greens. So there you have it. Obviously I pre-cut the pieces because I didn't want you to sit there and be bored just watching me cut pieces. But I wanted to show you just quickly these side by side so you can see how I cut the same colors for both cards, but I've done two very kind of different backgrounds, and they have very different looks and layouts, but side by side they look like twins in the sense that they work together. Now I do want to show you a couple of other ways that I used those same die sets in conjunction with some other stuff. So this one is actually a Christmas one that I made. I'm going to pull it up a little bit closer so you can see it. I used all the Floral Abundance again as the background. I used the shells again. I used the gold luster wax on the back of this one. And I used our festive cardstock on this one. So you can change out the colors. This one I used our assorted cardstock packs. And with this one I used the festive cardstock pack. And then what I did right here is I used our 3D Impresslet poinsettia. That is coming out in chapter 3 as well. And I used that as kind of my main feature instead of the labels and banners that I did with this, or banners and labels. So I die cut that out. A 3D Impresslet cuts and emboss at the same time. And then I added some of our sequins and beads into the center of some of these flowers just to give a little bit more texture. So as you can see, same kind of thing, totally different look, but just by changing the colors of the cardstock I used and by changing out my main focal feature right there. To take it one step further, I have also, let me see if I can get them all in frame. I don't know if I can. So I've got these three. And then the last one I did more of a fall card. And this one I used, again, the same Floral Abundance, same 3D embossing background. But this time what I did is I ran the clear embossing ink over the background. I literally just dragged it across the top of the emboss. And then I did some gold, oh, that's so pretty with the light shining on it. I did some gold embossing powder over it, so it gave it more of like a vintage enamel effect. And then I went through and I changed out the colors on my cardstock. So I used kind of a variety of colors here. I did our festive pack. I think this is our botanical pack, if I remember, the Lisa Jones one. And I mixed those ones up. And my focal feature for this one is another chapter 3 die, which is called the Layered Christmas Flower. This is a really nice, beautiful flower, and I've actually got another project I'll show you, but I did this one in a cream, and I kind of inked the edges with a nice yellow tone and then went back over it with some gold luster wax just to give it that nice little flare. So as you can see, I don't know if you can get all four. I think I can get all four. You've got spring and summer, you've got a funky Christmas, you've got fall. I could have gone traditional colors, I could have gone any which way I wanted, but I used the same core elements with the Floral Abundance across all four and the same embossing folder background, but I just changed out my focal point on each, and look how you can get very different things just by changing out the cardstock and your focal point. So those are just a few of the new products coming out in chapter 3. I do want to show you just a couple more projects because sneak peek means you get a sneak peek of what we're making. So this next one is a fall, but I used the shells folder on this, which I thought was really kind of fun. This is another big sty. This one's called Autumn Pumpkin, and as you can see, it's just a really simple jack-o'-lantern. It's great for soft craft. It's great for kind of decorating. You can do banner pieces and garlands and things like that for around Halloween. I made a card with this one, and as you can see, I ran the piece through the embossing folder with the shells and then went back over it with some ink. So I just loved this, but I wanted to make it a little bit fancier, and so I did that really simple, added some of our patterned cardstock behind it, a little bit of ribbon, called it a day. Simple card, really easy. Love that one. Also for Halloween, we have a Thinlits die set called Creeps, and it comes with a few other pieces. You get like a zombie walking, but this tree was so sinister to me, but also just really cool the way they designed it. And so I just did this one and added a little bit of silver luster wax onto it. I took a circle and trimmed the bottom off so I could line up the tree with it to create like that cool moon focus, and just had fun with it. I actually was watching scary movies when I was making these, so it made it a lot easier, that process, to create Halloween stuff. But without Halloween, we have Christmas. So that layered Christmas flower, this is what it looks like with some of the other elements that come with it. So you get some leaf shapes, you get some smaller Christmas flowers, you get some berries. You can create nice slimline cards with it. Just a really beautiful flower. And even though it does look like kind of like a poinsettia, I really do think this flower, you could just change the colors and use it year round. The leaf shapes really just are very generic, this one. So I do think you could get a lot of kind of mainstay power out of that. One of my favorites is the layered Christmas tree, which is this one. Now I did mine out of all green. If you wanted to, you could do this top layer out of white to make it look like snow. It comes with these really cute little presents. And in the background is our Christmas tree pattern, which is a new embossing folder. So cute. Then we've got Home for Christmas. Now, I don't know about you, but I love doors. I think I have like a little slight obsession with doors. And this one you can customize those doors so it could be like a Christmas greeting from your own home, and you can decorate it to look exactly like yours does at Christmas time. I like doing really random colors for Christmas. As you can see, bright colors are my favorite thing. And so I used our festive pack and created a Home for Christmas card and did it in an aqua front door, because who doesn't want an aqua front door? Probably a lot of you, but I still think it's fun. Then we have, I've got two more that I want to show you real quick. So this one is called Christmas Nature, and it's a Biggs die. It might be a Biggs L. I think it's just a Biggs, but I don't have it in front of me, so it's hard for me to judge. I think it is a Biggs L. But this one can make the most beautiful dimensional paper crafts for your home for the decoration. You can put these on your Christmas tree. You could tie them onto a garland and put them onto a mantle. Jess Slack made these, and she actually on this one used some of the opulent festive paper to give that a little bit of a shimmer. So really fun paper crafts you can make from these, and you could cut them out of felt too and do really cute stockings and different kind of pillowcases. I actually used it on this wreath right here. I used our festive felt, and then I used the nature, the Christmas Nature Biggs die, and I added in the leaves with some of our essential flowers. So you can definitely use it on its own, or you can use it as a filler piece on a wreath. The final project I want to show you takes us back to Floral Abundance. And I just wanted to show you that it doesn't have to be just for cards. I made this little mini album using one of Eileen Hull's Chapter 1 dies. And they makes a cute little journal that flips in and out like this. And I used the Floral Abundance, again, in that festive colorway, but I did a more traditional kind of color tone, and I created my own wreath. Obviously, I had to cut a lot of pieces to make this happen, but I so thoroughly enjoyed making this piece. And I just like taking stuff that you wouldn't traditionally just think for cards and using it for scrapbooks and mini albums and gift tags, things that you wouldn't necessarily always use things for. So this die set I've shown you through the seasons, through different types of making, and I'm just really excited for you guys to get to check out Chapter 3. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I know this is like, Chapter 3 is always my favorite to make with. Chapter 1 has a special place in my heart because I do like spring, but Chapter 3 is like, who doesn't like decorating for the holidays or gift giving or anything like that? But I just love being able to do different things. I know I showed you a lot of cards today, but I promise there is a lot of content coming up for scrapbooking and mini books and home decor and party decor and things like that. So we've got you covered for all the different making activities through the rest of the year. I hope you enjoyed getting to see how I made these, as well as a couple of other fun little projects to go with them. I am really excited to kind of be releasing chapter 3 out into the world. We've known about it for many, many months now and have been furiously making behind the scenes. So be sure to check out Sizzix.com and Sizzix.co.uk for all the new releases that are going to be coming out, including new products. And we look forward to seeing what you make with it. And if you do happen to make anything with it coming up, make sure you tag us on our socials and use the hashtag #MyMakingStory so that we can find all your pretty makes. I hope you are all having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.